Welcome to Less Than 15, a show for busy business owners brought to you by DFK Australia, New Zealand. Each week we deliver bite-sized, actionable insights from industry experts so you're across the issues that really matter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus. Let's dive into this week's topic. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Less Than 15 podcast. Today, we are going to help relieve some of that burden that so many business owners are feeling. Kristy Smith from Virtual Elves, who I'll introduce in just a moment, talks to us about relieving the 30% burden. Because you're probably doing 30% more than you should or need or have to in your business. We want to pull you into your genius zone and out of the weeds. Kristy is the founder of Virtual Elves and has helped so many business owners just like you develop strategies for effective outsourcing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Angela. It's great to be here.
Well, I guess where I'd like to start is this idea of the 30% burden. Can you talk to us about what you've seen in all of the businesses you've combed through? What are the typical 30%ers that business owners really should be taking off that list?
Look, it's a really tricky one, right? Because it's really easy when you start a business to be the person that does everything. And that's exactly how it should be, right? Because you're learning, you're in that startup phase. But what we find is as the business grows and evolves, we stay in that space and we stay doing that 30% bottom sort of work that we shouldn't be doing. And that is whilst necessary, the work that doesn't contribute to the business owner's growth, the business's growth, the innovation in the business, the leveraging of the business owner's unique skills. So staying in that bottom 30% keeps you as the technician in the business doing the doing rather than becoming the leader in the business directing the doings.
Well, that is a great distinction, actually, being the technician, being on the tools, as opposed to rising above, finding your way out of the weeds and being that leader and innovator. That makes a lot of sense. Do you feel that there's a mindset shift that has to happen here with people holding on to stuff a little too tightly?
There definitely is. And it's that old adage of, but it's just easier if I do it myself, or it's quicker if I do it myself, or that will take 10 minutes if I just do it, whereas it'll take me 2 hours if I try and show someone else how to do it. And yeah, you're probably right. It is going to take longer for you to show someone how to do it. But what you don't realize as a business owner is in that space of 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 15 hours a day that you're working, there's probably a good 4 hours of that work that someone else could be doing for you if you just let it go. And whilst that one task might take you 10 minutes to do, if you've got 12, 15, 20 of those one tasks that you do in your day, that adds up really quickly. So just showing one person how to do that task is going to relieve all of that pressure on your system, because there's not only one of those tasks in your day, there's plenty of them, right?
Absolutely. And I know shortly we're going to be talking about what some of those tasks may look like, because I was thinking, wow, that 10 minutes, well, they will add up over time. And that feeling that we all have of constantly being on the treadmill, what we're saying is that there is a way to actually step off it. So what becomes possible when you actually have that mindset shift and begin to let go? What becomes more possible in that space that emerges?
Well, space is the word. You're creating that space for yourself, not just physical space, but also the mental space to start stepping back or looking up from above. I always think about a business owner, a leader in their business should be looking from above at what's going on down below, right? And you can only do that when you're not in a state of overwhelm and carrying all of the burden of the business. We hear a lot about business owners being the bottleneck in the business, and that's a real thing. We're bottlenecks because we're not allowing ourselves the space to rise above and create the strategy in the business to talk and think about all of the innovation that we can do. We've got AI coming in. We've got all of these really critical stages in business at the moment that if you don't have the space to explore, then you're going to be left behind. So businesses that are really thinking about how their time is spent and what their value is worth are the ones that are rising above and growing and scaling faster than everybody else.
That's such a great point, recognizing the value that you create as the owner in the business. If we get you out of the weeds and into that genius zone, there is more opportunity for you to use that space wisely. So how do we do this? Let's say that we've recognized the need. We go, oh, yes, I am spending too much time where there should be more delegation. So we've recognized that we are down in the weeds. We've recognized that we're doing things in our business that potentially could be done by someone else. But this isn't just about delegation, that simple but complicated piece. You've actually built a methodology around how someone can go from out of the weeds to more in their zone of genius as the business owner. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things that we need to remember is there's lots of different ways that we can actually pull ourselves, up to the leadership role in the business. So I use an acronym called SAD. As a business owner, we feel sad because there's, you know, lots of horrible things going on in the business. We're drowning in work. We're overwhelmed. We're not finding the passion and joy in it anymore. We want to go from sad to happy. So SAD is, S is for systemize. What are the things that we can make more efficient in the business, create systems out of? How can we look to improve the way that we do things? A is for automation. So as we know, many things can be automated these days. And so what in that task, that small little task, and we go to the bottom of what we're doing, how can we automate that? What can we do so that we don't need anyone doing it? But sometimes we need a personal touch. Sometimes we need someone that's going to hold that task for us in some way. And so we need to delegate it. And there's many different ways that we will cover later that we can delegate. But one of the main things is to find the right person to take away what we call that 30% burden from you so that you can step up into being a leader. But that last part of SAD, because it's got a double D, is ditch. Do we actually need to be doing it? Most of the time we're doing things because everyone else is on the same train doing it and we think we need to do it, but maybe for our business we don't. And so we can ditch that altogether and then that frees up time as well.
The time as well. And I guess some of those ditchings can also be, wow, a process that you've had for a long time, which now could be delegated or could be automated. So it's really getting up on the balcony to have a look at the business as a whole, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, if we were going to jump into doing that sort of thing, how do you actually change? Because if I sat here and thought about all of the things that need to happen in my business, I go straight into overwhelm again. So how do we go about actually identifying what can be making us sad and could be alleviated?
So I think the biggest thing, one of the things that we get stuck in is thinking we have to think about the business as a whole, right? When we're thinking about what do we need to change. My best way to think about this is just start every day with things that you're doing. Every day you sit and you write down the time and the task that you're doing. Every time you change task, you write the time and you write the task. And it's as simple as that. You do that for 5 days and you've got a very clear picture on what you're doing every day. And you include your personal things, you include your breaks, you include whatever it is, because that's important too. So that's the first part of what you're doing. And if you have a team of people, you should have them do the same thing, because then that gives you an overview of what the rest of the team are doing as well. Because remember here, we're trying to identify the bottom 30% of the work, right? So that everyone's working in their zone of genius, which is generally the top 30%, right? So that's the first step, is identifying what you're currently doing. The next step is just to go away for 20 minutes and sit in a room and brainstorm all of the things that you're not doing because you don't know how to, you don't have time to, all of those reasons, but brainstorm all of those things that you want to be doing, you should be doing. not you personally, the business, right, should be doing. So once you've got that big list, and 5 days is usually enough of that to determine what the business operations looks like, then you're going to put that into a category task grid. You can draw that up yourself. It's literally just a 6-grid task grid, and there are 6 categories. So the first one is administration work, all of the administration, email management, bookkeeping, finances, everything. Then we've got lead generation and sales. So that's the next part. Next one is marketing and communications, and that's all your digital marketing, social media, anything to do with emails and marketing. Then we've got creative. So that's graphic design, web design, anything that video editing, all the creative stuff. Then we go to technical, and technical is all of the stuff that you need a real technical specialist for. So coding, website, anything to do with that. And then personal. That's really important that we factor that in, because someone that really takes care of their personal quadrant has a really, really healthy business as well.
Awesome.
So that then gives you the main area where you're doing most of the work. Start there. Pick 3 of those key tasks that you've identified in that area and look at what you need to do using the SAD acronym. Look at what you need to do to improve those top 3 things. Start with 3, work with 3 at a time, and then it doesn't feel so big.
Awesome. Okay, so as we're coming to the end of this conversation, there is light at the end of the tunnel, listeners. So we're doing the time and task audit, then we're brainstorming other things we'd like to be able to do but haven't had the time and space to get to. And then we're doing that categorization. And those 6 categories will be on the show notes on the page that goes along with this episode, or down below you if you happen to be watching the video. And I know another great resource that you're going to be giving us here, Kristy, which will also be available on the page, is 101 things that a virtual assistant can do for you. So that brainstorming piece may be augmented by these possibilities. So once we have that SAD acronym, once we've got our list of things that we're really wanting to tackle, suddenly there is that opportunity to get out of the weeds. And that's when we can speak to someone like yourself for looking at outsourcing as an option. It may be the opportunity to hire somebody, lots of things. But until you have clarity around what it is that you are, inverted commas, investing your time in that is not the best use of that time, then we can't make good decisions and put systems in place to make it happen. So any last moments of wisdom you'd like to share before we finish up our conversation?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing, because I've been there, all of you out there listening, I've been exactly where you might be right now. And I want to assure you, or reassure you as well, that letting go isn't about losing control. I think that's a really big distinction. It's about gaining freedom to focus on what really matters. Letting go is about gaining that freedom to focus on what really matters. And every hour that you spend on tasks that someone else can do is an hour that you're not investing in your growth, your business's growth, innovation, or your own well-being.
Fantastic. I love that. It's reframing the concept of letting go. It's not losing control. It's creating freedom. Thank you so much for your time, Kristy. It's really appreciated.
Pleasure. Thanks, Angela.
And to you, our lovely listener, take action. Start that time and task audit today if this idea really resonated with you. And we look forward to welcoming you back to another episode of Less Than 15 next week. Until then, take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Less Than 15 and have a fresh idea or two to take action on. Hit the subscribe button so you catch every bite-sized business bulletin. And we'd love you to leave a review or perhaps share the episode with a friend. Less Than 15 is brought to you by Accountants and Business Advisors DFK Australia New Zealand, helping business owners make better decisions through local knowledge, national connections, and global reach. We'll be back next week with more valuable insights to help you and your business grow.